Yes, chat. We are going to be looking at Nick's latest video. The HEB, HEB, the grocery store, the FEMA of Texas. Are we ready? I have no idea what HEB is. I've never heard of this. Maybe I would know it by a different name. The thumbnail is showing an Aldi, so if it's an Aldi, then I know what he's talking about, but I've never heard of HEB before. And Austin Animate, thank you for the follow. It's a Texas thing. Okay, so this is something that I'm unfamiliar with. So I am prepared to be educated by net. So let's go. Oops, I muted it. All right. Start over. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
All right, for those of you that don't know, the first video I ever made on the internet was about Aldi, my favorite grocery store. Well, they've been dethroned.
Why?
Today we're talking about HEB. It is a grocery store that pretty much only exists inside of the state of Texas. Everybody thinks HEB stands for Here Everything's Better, but it actually stands for Howard Edward Butt. Despite operating in only one state, it is the 5th largest privately owned company in the entire United States, generating tens of billions of dollars in revenue, and it is affectionately dubbed the FEMA of Texas. And we're gonna get into all of it right after a word from our sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
DeleteMe.
Wait. Yup. Twitch chat, you're going away for a moment. Don't worry, I'll bring you back.
And we're gonna get into all of it right after a word from our sponsor.
DeleteMe.
Why do you have a commie gun?
Well, Brandon's the AK guy. I thought I could be the AK girl.
Okay, why?
Well, apparently we look alike.
You guys do not look alike.
Ooh. Who knows the backstory? Who knows the backstory on that? For those that don't know, Nick did like the face swap app thing on or is like the gender swap thing. That was like on I forget what app it is. They took a picture of Brandon, they gender swapped his face, and he looked like fucking Hannah. That's what that's in reference to. It's when they did the gender swap app on Brandon, and he looked like Nick's fucking wife. There it is. This is Brandon after they did the gender swap app.
No. Wait.
No, Brandon, you're not allowed to shave your beard ever, especially if I'm drunk.
I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers next time.
Don't say it like that. All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make sure the data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does that even mean?
Twitch
Okay,
chat
here's
back.
the entire
Thank you.
internet and every free service on the planet inside of a nutshell, okay? There's a saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What that means is pretty much anything on the internet that you use, that's a service, whether that be Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it, okay? It's all an app. So one of two things is happening. They're either gonna feed you ads, and that's how that company makes money since their service is free, or they're gonna collect your personal information, then turn around and sell it to data brokers on the internet, and then...
By the way, side tangent. Nick, thank you for doing the DeleteMe ads again. Your skits with Hannah for the DeleteMe ads are honestly some of the best parts of your videos. I fucking love them. Please keep doing them, or if you have to do it a sponsor for someone else, keep doing the skits. Your skits are cold. I love them. You and Hannah are absolutely adorable together, and I love your skits.
they're going to turn
yes,
around and
Tornado.
sell it to whoever buys it, and next thing you know, you're getting 17,000 robocalls every single day. And that's where DeleteMe comes in. They will look through all the major data brokers and find the ones that are selling your personal information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and then they are legally obligated to comply. And then they'll continue to monitor these data brokers, and if they get your information again, DeleteMe will submit an opt-out request again. Basically, you're paying DeleteMe to get rid of all the downsides of all of the free stuff on the internet, which I think is absolutely worth it. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the to the video. All right, here's the deal. I have been asked thousands of times to do a video about HEB. I have experience with HEB.
Really?
For those of you that don't know, I have a podcast down in San Antonio, Texas. I fly down there every month to film episodes with my co-hosts, Brandon, Cody, and Eli, so I have some HEB experience. I've been to the grocery store multiple times. There's nothing overwhelmingly special about it from an outsider looking in. You go in, it's a nice grocery store. It's big, it's cool, they have good food, but they don't appear to be doing anything different than any other major chain grocery store.
Okay.
And then I found out on my last trip to Texas, they are in fact way different. About 30 minutes from where we film our podcast is Kerr County, Texas. They were hit with massive flash flooding. It destroyed homes, buildings, infrastructure. It wiped out an entire fire station. People were hurt, people were killed. It was a complete disaster and very unfortunate situation. Clint Sanders, the guy that runs Bunker Branding, my merchandise company, and his wife Jenna are both from Kerr County. They grew up there their entire lives. So as soon as that disaster hit, they were using Bunker Branding in its warehouse as a point to gather up a bunch of supplies, and then they were shuttling them into Kerr County to whoever needed them. So while I was down there, me and the guys over at the Unsubscribed podcast took a day and we grabbed our trucks and we were helping them move all these supplies into Kerr County. And when I got there, HEB was there. And when I say HEB was there, I don't mean they sent a truck full of supplies and were handing it out to people. No, they had an entire disaster relief operation on par with FEMA or the National Guard up and running the entire time. They had semi-trucks.
Holy fuck yes, this is this is an entire fucking operation. It already, just from this one fucking photo, it's more organized than FEMA. This is fucking incredible.
That were specially kitted out to be mobile kitchens, cooking thousands of hot meals. They had semi-trucks that were specially kitted out to be mobile kitchens, cooking thousands of hot meals and giving them out to people. They had tons of food, tons of water. They had places for people to charge their cell phones. They had places for people to shower. They had a mobile pharmacy handing out medication. It was a full-on...
Oh my god! Oh my god! Shit, my brain's starting to cry! This is fucking amazing! This is fucking amazing! Hot food, showers, fucking medical care! This is fucking incredible! Oh my god, this is fucking amazing!
Unprofessional disaster relief effort by a fucking grocery store. It was overwhelmingly obvious this was not something that HEB threw together on a whim. This was like a professional team with professional equipment doing this job, and it's ran by a grocery store. So naturally, I had some questions. So I started asking the people around, and that's when I find out that, you know, they all love HEB. They're literally nicknamed the FEMA of Texas, and HEB responds to natural disasters in Texas and the surrounding area, usually faster than the United States government does. And that's great. That's awesome. They're doing...
Yeah.
I heard about this. From my understanding, HEB executives were tired of FEMA failing to aid Texans after hurricanes, so they started their own relief department.
After spoilers, I'm guessing Nick's gonna get into that exactly. Although, again, I'm feeling a comparison of Waffle House. The Waffle House is obviously not like this. Obviously not like this. Waffle House doesn't respond with a full-on team to help other people. Waffle House has its own response team for Waffle Houses. But I'm getting a vibe, and I'm thinking it's going to become that fucking vibe on steroids. Yeah, Revan, that's what I'm thinking. Like, Waffle House is like a passive version. It's, you know, there's the whole Waffle House guy for FEMA. Is a Waffle House open or is it not? Will determine how bad the emergency is. But, it feels like it's gonna be this, only to the nth fucking degree.
fantastic things, but my business brain is like, how in the fuck is that possible? Because I know that grocery stores are one of the most cutthroat, razor-thin margin industries that you could possibly operate in. Hy-Vee, for example, which is like the major chain grocery store in the Midwest, operates on a 1% profit margin. For every dollar they sell, they make 1 penny. So how on earth is HEB making so much money selling groceries that they're able to basically fund their own version of FEMA and do all this charity work? Clearly, they're doing something different than everybody else, and I was determined to figure out what it was, so let's take it from the top. All right, our story begins in the early 1900s with the parents of HEB, Howard Edward Butt, Charles, and Florence. Originally, the family was living in Memphis, Tennessee, and Charles was a pharmacist, and then at some point he developed tuberculosis, so they decided they were going to move the family down to Kerrville, Texas, hoping that the drier climate would help with this condition. And Charles, with tuberculosis, was no longer able to work as a pharmacist, so Florence decided to step up, and she decided she was going to support the family by opening a grocery store on the first level of their two-story house. They were going to live upstairs, they were going to run the grocery store on the first floor. And that opened in 1904.
Want to know something funny, chat? I've seen those today. I've seen those in modern day. When I used to live in Newfoundland, I've lived in one of the small, like, outport communities of Newfoundland. I did not live in I did not always live, for the first part of that, time when I was living in Newfoundland, I was in one of the smaller, like, really small towns, like a town of like less than 1,000 people, out in, in the boonies basically, and there we had a I'll call it a general store. They had gas, they had food, so they had a fair amount of grocery type items. They had a refrigerator for like milks and stuff like that. And, as well as like supplies, but they not only ran that grocery store, their residence was built onto the back of this store. So they actually lived behind the store. And, so like I've seen stuff like this before, and it takes a lot of dedication to do that, to basically live at your grocery store, effectively speaking. That takes a great deal of dedication. Like you really can never have a day off, ever. You can't even go on vacation because if you go on vacation, you have to close the store and you're no longer making money. And you think profit margins are slim with the major grocery stores, like what Nick was talking about? The profit margins in these smaller stores are even small. Just after Harvey hit, they interviewed the HEB director of disaster relief. Oh, I'm not going to read that. No spoilers. No spoilers, because Nick might get into it.
Now, in the early 1900s, grocery stores were a lot different than they are today, right? People didn't have cars usually, so people couldn't come by and pick up a bunch of groceries and drive them home. So grocery stores usually functioned as you would either call in or you would go in, you'd place an order. The people working at the grocery store would assemble your order, and then they would deliver it to your house for you. And that is what their three sons, Charles, Howard, and Edward, all did.
He doesn't talk about Murphy? Okay, then I will read it. Sorry, Ray. I didn't want spoilers, but if he doesn't talk about Murphy, then I'll read this. He said that they switched bread production, only 3 kinds. They asked chip manufacturers for only the top 3, all frozen food stopped. They sent out teams to find the best routes for their trucks, and then they used helicopters to fly in extra truck drivers. Holy shit! That's impressive. And yes, Internal Seraph, delivery is making a comeback in the form of, like, DoorDash and Uber Eats. Yes, someone mentioned that. That's why I came back and read it. Yeah, delivery is making a comeback through, like, DoorDash and Uber Eats. So, yeah, it kind of is.
At a very young age, literally going around town delivering groceries out of a baby carriage and a little red wagon. It was just like, dad's out, the entire family is stepping up to make this thing work. This goes on pretty much their entire childhood. They grow up, all the boys go off to fight in war. They come back from World War I, and one of their 3 sons, Howard, takes over the grocery store and retires as Mother Florence. So Howard's running the show now, and by 1922, he has a stroke of genius. He sees the writing on the wall. Automobiles are becoming more and more prevalent, and hey, people would probably be willing to come pick up their own groceries and pick them out themselves. So he changes the entire function of the grocery store and is really one of the early adopters of what is is a modern grocery store. He changes the name of the grocery store to CC But Grocery, CC standing for cash and carry, telling the audience, hey, you bring in cash, you carry your shit out, you fuck off. We're not going to deliver groceries anymore.
What's kind of funny is, I don't know about in the States, but I know at some of the smaller places here in Canada, cash and carry is still a thing in terms of advertisement. I've seen a few stores, primarily when I was, again, still back in Newfoundland. Cash and carry is still used in terms of what a store is labeled as. It's in Puerto Rico also, Skips Therapy? Yeah, it's for smaller towns. Actually, Mechanist, the one I saw that said cash and carry was actually in one of the more sizable towns in Newfoundland. Granted, when I say sizable, in comparison to one of the, in comparison to the States, obviously, it would have been about the size of the major city that I was at, when compared to the States, would probably be the size of like a mid-sized town. So bearing in mind, I fully appreciate the differences there. But this was like a major city for Newfoundland, and I saw at least a couple of stores that were actually called cash and carry. So that's kind of something that still does exist today.
And this is genius because in exchange for that, he's saving time, money, and labor by not having to pick out all the groceries and not having to pay a delivery guy to go take the groceries to your house, so he can offer the groceries cheaper than anybody else is able to. So his grocery store becomes very popular in the surrounding community. And on top of that, the way the old grocery store functioned, they didn't have debit cards and like writing checks and stuff. So when you were, calling into an old grocery store, placing your order and having it delivered to your house, they would just send you a bill at the end of the month, which as bills work, sometimes people don't pay them or they order shit and then they can't afford it later. So a lot of the time when you were running these old grocery stores, you just wouldn't get paid on time or you wouldn't get paid at all. But now the customer...
Something I also experienced before is they basically, although they would basically, they would basically run a bill, and people will come in and they would run a bill, for gas or for food or whatever. They'd say, put it on my bill. And then by and large, it was kind of on the honor system that you would pay it off. There was no paperwork. There's no contracts or anything. It was, they would keep track of the dollar amounts of what you owed, and then it was expected that at every month you would come in and just pay off your bill, or at least pay off some of your bill. And if you hadn't, they would say, hey, just let you know, we got stuff on your bill here. And if you didn't, and if I don't think this ever happened, but there was, if you couldn't pay off the bill, they would basically just have to eat that loss. But they would tell you that, well, you're not going to be able to bill anything anymore. It's going to have to be pay immediately. So, and that's modern day. This is like, this was in existence when I was back in Newfoundland, and I saw this happening, 4 years ago? Something like that. In the small towns, it's still a thing today.
Is paying when they pick up the groceries, so he doesn't have to worry about going out and collecting debt anymore either. So it's just a better business model all around, and he's one of the first people to ever do it. From here, business is going great. He's well established in his local community. Everybody loves him, so he decides he's going to expand and open up more grocery stores. And unfortunately, it fails tremendously because he has no name brand. He opens up 4 different grocery stores. All 4 of them fail.
Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution.
And because this guy's a business genius, he realizes it's not his company, it's not the way he does things, it's not the way he runs.
And see, I remember about 24 years ago, I lived in a small town called Hudson, Iowa. There's a weekly grocery delivery service, and the closest grocery convenience store was 20+ minutes away. Damn if the owner wouldn't give his employees the day off if there was a blizzard and to deliver stuff himself. I missed that town, even if there was nothing around. It was filled with some of the most genuine and honest people I've ever come across in my life. Grabs, I think that's true for a lot of the small towns these days. Or at least 20 years ago. The small towns, that's where you met the people that were genuine and honest. It's mostly stores that have been around for over 50 years that have cash and carry branding. Also, the branding is in English. It will usually be a family name and the word cash carry. Oh, fair point, Sketchy. Or fair point, Sketch Therapy.
Runs things, he just doesn't have the right marketing. He doesn't have the name brand. The name brand at this point in time is Piggly Wiggly. And lucky for him, Piggly Wiggly is a franchise. So what he does is he actually buys the rights to use the name Piggly Wiggly in 3 separate locations, and he opens up 3 Piggly Wigglies, but he runs them the same way that he runs his grocery store, CC Butt Grocery. And they do great. So then he ends up buying out 3 more Piggly Wigglies that are already built, and he starts running them the same way. Then he opens up another one. And then once they're established and matured in the community and everybody knows how this new form of grocery store operates, then he changes the name over to CC Butt Grocery.
Smart.
See more butts. Who's see more butts?
Nobody see more butts than you, Uncle Tony.
It's like grocery store guerrilla warfare. It's fucking beautiful. By 1935, all the other grocery stores are doing the same thing he was originally doing, so that wasn't really special anymore. So he renames the grocery stores again from cash and carry because it's no longer needed. It's just obviously implied at this point. So he renames it H.E. Butt, Howard Edward Butt Grocery.
Hilarious.
I'm trying so hard not to make fun of their last name, but he keeps picking the worst possible name possible.
You want to know something funny? I hear the last name of Butt. It doesn't make it. I don't even have the inclination to laugh because I have met so many people in Canada since I moved to Canada, particularly in Newfoundland, that had the last name of Butt. The effect to laugh at it has long since fled my mind. There's like a surprising amount of people with the last name of Butt. It's steady. I have definitely met a Butt or 2 or 5 or 10. It was a pretty common name, honestly. It really, now granted, I never met a Butt with the first name of Seymour, so I never had that. I think thankfully the parents may have been wise enough to realize their last name is Butt. Probably not a good idea to name their boy Seymour, as in Seymour Butts. So thankfully I did not have that issue, but haha. Hell, a Canadian, there was a Canadian sitcom called Corner Gas, who the lead actor's last name was Butt. His name was Brett Butt. So it's kind of a common name up here in Canada. That's why. SpongeBob! I'm ruling here! Come get me when I'm feeling more horny, okay? I can put that tongue to very good use.
C Butt, he Butt, just, yeah.
Always he
Butt! So from here,
God.
Howard continues expanding. He's got the grocery business dialed in. He knows how to run a successful grocery store. So he's got 2 options. He can just keep expanding and keep doing what everybody else is doing, or he can keep innovating, and he chooses to keep innovating. All the other grocery stores at this point in time are basically just a middleman, right? They buy products from these big manufacturers, and then they mark them up and they sell them. They take their profit, they call it a day. But Howard decides he's going to be one of the first grocery stores to ever start vertically integrating. He's going to be one of the first to start offering a store brand product equivalent. So he opens up a bakery, he opens up a canning facility, he starts making some of the products that he's going to sell inside of his stores. Now, this in itself isn't that revolutionary because other companies have done this before, but Howard takes it a step further, and what he ends up doing is he submits everything to blind taste testing against the big name brands. He doesn't want the HEB knockoff product to be a knockoff product. He wants it to be just as good, if not better. So his brand is actually premium, and he's still able to sell it cheaper.
I have to wonder, is that what Costco did? Because a lot of people buy the Kirkland brand, words are hard, the Kirkland brand products. And I've heard plenty of people say that they feel like the Kirkland brand product from Costco is better than some of the mainstream.
Someday, I'll be old enough to not giggle at, but today is not that day.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so now granted, obviously I'm guessing, I'm trying to remember the timeline when Nick did the Costco video. I'm pretty sure HEB came into existence and was doing this before Costco did. So maybe Costco saw what HEB did and said, hey, we need to do that too. Like, do stuff it, make our own in-house stuff, make it better, improved upon the mainstream.
Obviously works out great, so he just keeps expanding, opening more grocery stores, more vertically integrated things. He's running his own warehouses, everything. And then in the 1930s, one of his warehouses gets wiped out by a hurricane. And unlike everybody else affected by this hurricane, Howard decides he's going to keep his grocery stores open, and he's actually going to get involved with the disaster relief, starting the company tradition of helping with natural disasters inside of Texas. Fast forward to World War II, Howard is now basically a major food manufacturer as well, so he uses his canning facilities and bakeries and everything else to help with the war effort, getting food to the front lines. Then World War II ends, Howard renames the company from H.E. Butt to just what we know today as H.E.B., and he becomes one of the first grocery stores to invest in a frozen food section. And this is one of those things that doesn't seem like a big deal. It seems like,
okay, this guy is fucking pioneering everything. He's pioneering high quality in-house product. First one to have a frozen food section. He's helping with the fucking war effort. Like, holy shit, this guy is like innovative. And this is the first time I'm ever hearing about him.
Like something fairly obvious, but right at the end of World War II was when mass refrigeration really started to come out. People started to have freezers in their homes, so being one of the only places where you could go and buy a tub of ice cream and bring it back home was a humongous fucking deal.
When the fuck did we get ice cream?
I cannot stress to you enough how insanely popular ice cream was in the years leading up to, during, and right after World War II. It's one of those things that kind of flies under the radar, but have you ever noticed with like senior citizens today that there's a humongous ice cream culture? Like they all love having ice cream with dinner. They all had like ice cream socials back in the day. It's all because of history, right? Because during Prohibition in the 1930s, all these bars basically woke up one morning and the government said, hey, guess what? You can't sell booze anymore, which is the only product that you were selling. So bars all over the country overnight basically had to turn themselves into soda shops and ice cream parlors. And those soda shops and ice cream parlors are what filled the social void that bars left behind. So ice cream became incredibly popular. And now one of the only places that you can go buy it in bulk in the entire United States is a grocery store in Texas called HEB. From here, he continues to dominate the Texas market, expanding like wildfire. He tries to go out into other states, but after a couple of years, they close those grocery stores down and decide they're just going to stay inside of the state of Texas. They decide rather than expanding HEB all over the country, they're just going to completely dominate the grocery industry at every level inside of their home state. And what I mean by that is everybody knows when it comes to grocery stores, you've kind of got your tiers of grocery stores, right? You've got your like lower income budget grocery stores where there's a lot of off-brand products, but everything's significantly cheaper. Then you've got your like legitimate grocery stores, which is kind of like what HEB or Hy-Vee or Safeway is. And then you've got your big department stores like Walmart that sell a bunch of shit and groceries. HEB is like, fuck it, we're gonna be all three all over the entire state of Texas. So they open up HEB Plus, which is like a Walmart type store. Then they have their normal HEB. Then they have Jovi's Smart Shop, which is their discount low income grocery store. And then they have HEB Central Market, which is like your upscale farmers market, fancy bougie grocery store. So they're selling groceries to absolutely everybody. And this is absolutely genius because when you start running a business across state lines, all the rules change, right? Now, if you're operating in 50 states, that's 50 states with 50 different laws, and you've got to transport the equipment from your factory in Texas all the way up to Rhode Island, and it just turns into one gigantic fucking headache, and you're hiring 200, 300, 500, 1,000 people just to know all the rules and regulations for every single state. HEB is like, fuck this, we're just gonna own the entire state of Texas. And you know what? It works because Texas is fucking enormous. It's basically its own country inside of the United States. And you're like, oh, fat electrician, chubby electrician guys, fucking exaggerating. No, I'm not, okay?
Oh, well, here we go. He said this before, where you can drive for 2 days and still not be across the entire width of Texas. He has talked about this before. Is he going to bring it up again?
Ukraine is the biggest country in Europe. It's almost the size of Texas. So just by dominating one singular state, Texas in the United States, they can be one of the biggest grocery providers in the world because Texas is so fucking big. Now, by the 60s, 70s, Howard is getting up there in age. It's time to retire, time to let everything go. So he achieves the real American dream of building an enormous company and then taking it public, cashing out, making millions and millions of dollars so he can go fuck off and do whatever for the rest of it. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
He achieves the real American dream of building something incredible and then handing it off to his sons and letting them take over the reins so he can sit back, relax, and watch his sons continue to kick ass for the rest of his life. And
What does this sound like, chat? This part of the story is sounding very familiar. Bro? This is just what the Arizona guy who did Arizona iced tea did. Did Waffle House do it too? I can't remember if what Arizona iced tea is sticking out in my head in this regard. Waffle House did it too? I couldn't remember if Waffle House did it too, but yeah. Are we seeing a pattern here? Are we seeing a fucking pattern? The companies that are wildly successful are the ones that do good pricing, good bang for your buck. They're family-owned businesses, and they keep it within the family. They don't basically, go public and get a bunch of stockholders that are going to be making the decisions. No, the family owns the business. They make the fucking decisions. And in the cases where Nick has talked about them, all the decisions end up being the best thing for the company, the best for the employees, the best thing for the communities, and the best thing for the owners. Like, it's the best thing all the fuck around.
that's exactly what they do. They continue vertically integrating the company. HEB now owns the biggest milk processing plant in the state of Texas. They own an ice cream factory. They own multiple manufacturing facilities. They own over 400 grocery stores all over the state of Texas, and they have that entire community on fucking lock. They are literally a grocery store chain that operates in one of 50 states, and somehow they are the 5th largest privately owned company in the country, bringing in over $46 billion a year. So while the rest of the competition is going out here hiring guys with business degrees that know what they're doing, aka cutting a bunch of corners to maximize profits, being very short-sighted about everything, his sons are out here building an empire that's gonna last for—
They keep it in the family.
Oh, God.
Phrasing, Ember. Phrasing.
Well, it sounded like she was kind of tired at the beginning on that one.
being very short-sighted about everything, his sons are out here building an empire that's gonna last forever. And you wanna know what they do with that empire? A bunch of good shit. It's legitimately a good place to work, according to every source that I could possibly find. Like Walmart, for example, their competition is in the lowest 35% of employee satisfaction and retention rate.
Okay, who's surprised by this? Everybody knows that Walmart is a terrible place to work for. They treat their employees like shit. It's all about making the stockholders and the owners money. They don't give a fuck about the people down on the ground floor, and they damn sure don't give a shit about the customers. This is known. So, let's see how HEB compares. I'm gonna hazard a guess and say HEB is just a little bit down.
HEB is in like the top 5%. 50% of
Damn.
HEB employees said they would not take another job in a similar field if they offered them more money. Technically now the Butt family only owns 90% of HEB. The other 10% they gave to the employees. So every year, every employee, even the part-time ones, if they work 1,000 hours, gets a bonus check at the end of the year for whatever their cut of the corporate profits are. And on top of that, they do a ton of charity work. They donate millions of dollars a year, not just to disaster relief, but to education funds. They donate back into their communities, back into the employees themselves, and they're well known for being one of the biggest retail chains to give small companies a chance. They're well known for letting small companies that are either owned or started up by disenfranchised people or founded in Texas or founded by veterans to get inside their stores probably sooner than they should to help those companies have a chance at competing in the marketplace, which is, you know, a great plug because I know of an energy drink company founded by a bunch of veterans. that would look pretty good inside of HEB. Is that a
Chat, I know what you're thinking. Don't say it. I'm already salty about it. I'm already salty about it. Don't fucking say it. Yeah, I know it's his energy drink, and I will never get to taste it. God damn it.
inside of HEB? Is that a shameless plug?
Yes, and it's the choice of a new generation.
Don't judge me, okay? I gotta shoot my shot, all right? We've got Echelon inside of pretty much every PX and every military base in the country. It would look really good inside of every HEB in Texas, too. Sorry, anyways, this brings us back to the disaster relief thing. They've been providing disaster relief to pretty much every natural disaster to hit Texas and the surrounding area since the 1930s, and they did way more than I even saw on the ground over in Kern County. HEB has a full-time...
All right, off target here, but yes. Echelon is banned in Canada because of a severely high caffeine content, I believe. Haseo, I just never had occasion. Yeah, but it's banned in Canada because I believe it's the caffeine content, if I remember correctly. That's incredibly high, and well, I'll never get to see it. At Revan, I don't know. I don't know. That is what the proclaimed reason is. If there's something more than that, I haven't looked into it, and yeah, so.
Way more than I even saw on the ground over in Kern County. HEB has a full-time disaster relief team. They're literally running their own miniature version of FEMA that somehow responds faster than FEMA. On their HEB website, they have advice, tips, tricks, weather tracking to help people know how to survive a natural disaster. And then when the natural disasters do hit, they mobilize massive convoys to go in with mobile kitchens, showers, cell phone charging, food, clothes, medicine, absolutely everything you could want. HEB is on the way to get it to you. And then they donate millions and millions of dollars back into that community to help with the reconstruction. Now, we don't know what the totals are for Kern County, Texas, because that disaster is still kind of unfolding and just now getting addressed. But in 2017 with Hurricane Harvey, they donated $6 million towards reconstruction, had 60,000 hot meals distributed, and 150,000 cases of water. Which raises the question, how in the fuck are they able to do this? Because like I said, grocery stores are the most cutthroat, razor-thin margins that you can imagine. Literally like a 1% profit margin on product. How do they have tens of millions of dollars to donate back into these communities and then have a full-time emergency response team on hand whose entire job is to track the weather and respond to natural disasters for?
And one of you guys mentioned it, and one of you guys did happen to mention it, and I suspected this was the case the whole time, is they probably source locally. They, like, I imagine a big chunk of what HEB sells is they source it locally. And so they're not paying exorbitant prices to ship stuff over from manufacturing plants states away, and they have to pay the shipping costs. That is one thing. Because where he's talking about the margins being like 1%, I think he showed 2.75%. That's one factor. It's gotta be. Oh, Brith, VTube Studio does not need me to do sponsorship ads. Trust me.
For their community. I, for the life of me, could not figure out how they had the money to do this. So I dug, and I dug, and I dug, and I finally figured it out. And it's fucking genius. The way HEB is managing to make so much money, I believe, is because they're not just a grocery store that's vertically integrated making a bunch of their own products. They're also a real estate developer. Somewhere along the line, HEB realized that going to the grocery store is, you running errands. And you know what makes running errands really convenient is if all your errands are in the same place or even the same parking lot. So what HEB noticed is whenever they throw up a grocery store, people were coming to their grocery store because people got to buy groceries, right? So then other businesses would buy up all the lots next to them and throw up their company and basically use that as the excuse of like, okay, well, I'm going to get more business now because people are going to come buy groceries, and then I'm right next to where the groceries are, so they're just gonna pick me out of convenience. So HEB, realizing this, said, you know what, fuck it. When I'm gonna open up a grocery store, I'm gonna buy 10 times more land than I need, and I'm gonna develop the entire area. We're not just gonna build a grocery store, we're gonna build the strip mall attached to it, right? So you're gonna come into our one gigantic parking lot where there's HEB, and then there's 20 other stores on each.
And look at the layout. Here's the HEB. You don't even have to get off the highway, or you don't even have to cross the highway. You're literally all on a private road here. You're in the HEB, and then you just go up the road, and boom, you're right into the strip mall. Plus, you've got gas right here. Or yeah, the street. Why did I say highway? God. Yeah, like the street is like over here. This is the main street, so you don't have to like go like cross the street and fight against traffic or anything. It's all literally right here with its own private little road, and yeah, it's fucking perfect.
Side, and we're going to build those buildings, and then we're either going to sell them or we're going to lease them out to those companies, because we're increasing that property value just by existing there, and we're going to make a bunch of money when we do it.
You smell that? What is that?
A cologne?
No.
Opportunity.
No. Money.
Okay, it's literally like a great white shark leasing out the space on its belly to those little sucker fish that eat all the shit that the sharks don't end up eating, right? It's absolutely brilliant. It's literally the field of dreams strategy. If you build it, they will come, and HEB figured, fuck it, I'm gonna build it for them too, and then they can just rent it from me. And the entire thing just feeds into itself, because guess what? If you got one of those 20 stores in the strip mall connected that you're leasing out to, and somebody has to run errands at that strip mall, guess where they're buying groceries at now? HEB, at a convenience. So they're both feeding off of each other, but HEB is benefiting off of all of it because they own the whole thing. So yeah, that's how they do it. It's one of the most genius business models I've ever seen. And what's even cooler is they take a bunch of that money that they make off of this brilliant business model and...
I mean, Cookie Monster, fair point. It's, you know, it's... Well, actually, I mean... I'm not sure. I'm questioning whether or not it could be called, although I'm questioning whether or not it could be like quote unquote genius. However, if he did this before other businesses had the same idea, then okay, I could quantify that as genius. Because I'm trying to remember when he said he started doing this. Yeah, Kaibo, shrewd is, it seems like it's a more appropriate descriptor. It depends on if he got into this on the ground floor. If he got into this concept on the ground floor, then yes, that's genius, because he was the first one to do it. If he was not the first one to do it, it was a very shrewd and tactical. He was the first in Texas? Okay, if he was the first in Texas, Kaibo, then okay, then I will agree with the genius adjective. That I will agree that if he was the first one to do it.
Do good in their community, literally becoming the FEMA of Texas. So yeah, the moral of the story is don't sell out. The American dream is not to build a company that's worth $1 billion, sell it to the open market, and then make $1 billion, fuck off, and buy a Lamborghini for the rest of your life. No, the real American dream is to build something, make $1 billion.
Kaibo, I was thinking about that, and I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree. I know the route, I know the angle that you're looking at, that McDonald's was basically, McDonald's is not in the habit of fast food. McDonald's is not in the business of fast food. McDonald's is in the business of real estate, because you're buying land to build the McDonald's on there, and you're licensing people to build. McDonald's is basically licensing their company for franchisees to build McDonald's on property. So I understand your thought. I understand your line of thought there, but this is kind of different. It's not simply building up grocery stores. It's building up land directly adjacent to said grocery stores for people to build properties, so that when people go to these businesses, the HEB is literally next to it. You don't even have to cross the street to it. And then they're going from their business to the HEB for their groceries. So it's there's a little bit of sameness there, but it's not quite the same thing as how McDonald's operated. There's a bit of a similarity there, but that's only a little bit.
Fuck off and buy a Lamborghini for the rest of your life. No, the real American dream is to build something, make $1 billion along the way, and then hand it down to your kids and let them continue kicking ass and let them go out in the world and do good things, which is exactly what HEB did. The world would be a significantly better place if more companies acted and operated like HEB does. Imagine if Walmart or Target or any of these other major retail stores did exactly what HEB does. They could do it. There's no reason Walmart shouldn't have a convoy for disaster relief going in and helping people out, but they sold out and they're subservient to a board of investors, and the only thing they give a fuck about is making more and more money, where HEB cares about making money, but they care about the people they're making money from and they give back to them. And that's why HEB has its cult following that I didn't understand until I did the research for this video. It's because HEB isn't just some company coming in trying to make as much money as possible. HEB is legitimately a part of the Texas community and their culture and genuinely cares about the people that they serve. So in conclusion, I am in Texas an awful lot, and I am absolutely not sold on the notion that everything is bigger and better in Texas, but holy shit, the grocery stores sure are. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. Also, they have homemade tortillas that are really good, and their Doritos have more cheesy powder than name brand Doritos, so there is that.
Yeah, it's Nashi, kind of. Not well, but not really. Again, it's, it's not only the grocery stores and the quality of the grocery stores, it's the fact that there's all the stuff around it and driving business to it. So again, it's similar, but not quite there.